I tell you what, it is a privilege for us to be here with you all. Obviously, Nashville's our American hometown. I've grown up coming to shows most of my life in the Ryman, and so to be able to play it here with you guys is a real thrill for us. We actually, when we first moved to America, we actually moved into a little hotel called Union Station that is just a couple of blocks from here, and there was 6 kids, my parents, so there's 8 of us. And my dad got two bedrooms, and the reason why is because they offered free breakfast. And when you've got 8 people eating free breakfast, it became pretty worthwhile to us to stay at the hotel. And I think they changed the policy soon after because they realized they just couldn't have these massive families coming from Australia to eat at their free breakfast. But speaking of family, my wife, Courtney, and I, we got 3 kiddos, right? We got a 7-year-old, we got a 5-year-old, and we have a newly minted 3-year-old. And we recently, and I hope there's some folks from Australia watching, but last year we actually got to go back pre-COVID to Australia. And it was the first time for my wife and all of the kids to go back to Australia. And I was kind of prepping the kids, like, kids, you know, this is really special that you get to go back to Australia. You're going to love it. I'm going to show you all about, you know, Australia stuff. And they were like, oh, I like that, Dad. And I was like, here's the other thing, man. I mean, you guys are half Australian. So I got to teach you about some heritage, you know. And they were kind of all like, yeah, Dad, I like this. You're really passionate, but yeah, I like this. And my 5-year-old came up to us a little while after, and he said, Dad, just one question, you know, which half of my body is Australian? And I laughed a little bit and said, you clever little boy. I wasn't meant to take that literally, but speaking of family, when my wife was actually pregnant with our 5-year-old, she was going through debilitating nausea. And so she went to the doctor and said, hey, is there anything we can do about the nausea? And they said, yeah, here's some medicine. You should feel much better. And for about 6 weeks, that was the case. But soon after that, the medicine kind of lost its effectiveness, and she went back to the doctor and said, hey, is there anything more that we can do? And they said, yeah, we'll just up the dosage and give you more of the medicine. And I was in Austin, Texas for a show, and my wife called me and she said, Luke, I need you to come home. And up until that point in doing music, I had never received that phone call before. And I said, okay, well, you know, honey, like, you know, what's going on? She said, well, I've been taking this medicine and I just can't stop taking it. I need you to come home. So I get on the next plane, I go home, and I come in the back door, and I see my beautiful wife, and I said, honey, I mean, are you okay? And she said, well, I'm okay right now, but in a few hours, things are going to get very, very difficult. And sure enough, a few hours later, I could see her hands begin to tremble, and she started saying things like, Luke, you know, I know the doctors don't want me taking any more of this medicine, but what if I just take one more pill to get me through the night? What if I just take one more pill? It was at that point that I realized we had a problem. So the next morning we got up and went to a mental health facility. And we arrived at kind of a strange looking building. It was no windows, very dark, and we were just the only people there. And eventually a nurse came and said, Courtney, will you come on back? And we both got up to go. And right before we got to the door, they looked at me and they said, Luke, you don't get to come for this. You got to stay out there. There was just something about the isolation and the loneliness of that moment that I will never, ever forget. And Courtney came out a little while later, and she said, look, they're recommending intensive therapy. And so that's what we did. We'd go in there, drop her off at 9 a.m. in the morning, pick her up at 2, and we did that for a few weeks. And there was one particular night after this that she had this bottle of pills in her hand. And she said, Luke, I need to go and flush these pills because these pills represent so much shame and so much guilt in my life. I just need to see him leave one by one. And I was reminded at that time of a story about an explorer who went to a foreign land, and when this explorer arrived on the beaches of this foreign land, he said to his men, hey, we're going to go explore the horizon. We're going to see what this land has for us. And soon after he had finished explaining this to his men, he realized that none of his men wanted to follow him. They just wanted to return to what was comfortable. They just wanted to return to the past. They just wanted to return to what was familiar. This explorer waited a few days, and he called all of his men right back onto those beaches again. And he said to his generals, I want every single soldier accounted for on these beaches. And once they were accounted for there, He gave his generals the command to burn the ships. Because he said, we will not retreat, we will not go back, but we'll leave ourselves no choice than to see what is over the mountains, than to see what could be in our future, than to see what is up ahead. And for my wife, when she took those pills and she flushed them, that was her moment of burning the past. And look, I don't know where this camera here, I don't know where it's taking us across the world, across the country. I don't know what your story might be, but here's what I would say. No matter what has been said, no matter what has been done, I hope for you to know this, that there is hope in the world, that there is hope for a second chance, and that there's this opportunity to go and burn the ships. How did we get here? We cast away on a lonely shore. I could see in your eyes, dear, it's hard to take for a moment more. We've got to burn the ships, cut the ties, send a flare into the night. Say a prayer, turn the tide, dry your tears and wave goodbye. Step into a new day. We can rise up from the dust and walk away. We can dance upon the heartache, yeah. So light a match, leave the past, burn the ships, and don't you look back. Don't let it arrest you. This fear of falling again. And if you need a refuge, I will be right here until the end. Oh, it's time to burn the ships, cut the ties, send a flare into the night. Say a prayer, turn the tide, dry your tears and wave goodbye. Step into a new day. We can rise up from the dust and walk away. We can dance upon the heartache, yeah. So light a match, leave the past, burn the ships, and don't you look back. Seems to look back